What's going on, everybody? Aidan from Birds vs. Boys here, coming to you with the Eagles game day reaction show for Week 13 as the Eagles beat the Jets 33-18 to improve to 6-7, and the playoff hunt is completely on. Before I get into it, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the video, and also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe there as well, where it's all one big audio episode that I do with Kevin, my podcast co-host, who did the Cowboys reaction show, but they played on Thursday Night Football. So make sure to like and subscribe, all that. But I'm coming to you after the Eagles win, and I waited a little bit to do this episode. Usually we like to do these ones as soon as the game goes final, so you get that raw, unfiltered emotion. But I had to wait, and the reason why, because we got to talk playoff scenarios. We got to talk outcomes of other teams that are in the hunt. And there were a lot of teams playing at 4 o'clock that had implications for the playoffs and what their outcome did for the Eagles, which is just a hilarious position to be in considering how the season was going. But at one point today, the Eagles were the 7th seed and they were in the wild card. So we'll get into that soon, and just the playoff implications, the wild card implications, where the schedule is going with everybody involved. Just hilarious that we're doing this, considering at one point we were like, oh, maybe we'll have 3 top 10 picks. And now we're like, oh, maybe all 3 teams that were involved in may make the playoffs: the Eagles, the Colts, and the Dolphins. Everybody's winning. So we'll get into it. Eagles win. The Jets team, going into the game, we knew that wasn't a great opponent. They've struggled all year, but you still had that nervousness in the back of your mind. And I said it to my friends. Everybody knew the stat. The Eagles have never lost to the Jets in their franchise history. But anyone who knows Philly sports and anybody who watched that game last week would have been like, well, there's a first time for everything. Like, that was your mindset going in. And then you find out last night, reporting from Derek Gunn, with the GOAT in Philadelphia in terms of reporting on the Eagles, says Jalen Hurts is going to be out today. And that little bit of doubt starts to creep in. And then let's just go in chronological order in the game. We're obviously going to touch on the big story, which is Gardner Minchu, but the game starts and the Jets return the opening kickoff down to their about 20, 25-yard line and get a touchdown. It just felt dead. I had friends that were there. They said the stadium was dead, and it felt like the Eagles were kind of reciprocating that energy early on where they felt dead. Anybody who watched The Walking Dead on AMC, it was a great show at first, and that completely fell off. That is just a mystery. Just totally unrelated to football, but that show had so much potential and just fell off. But the running kind of inside knowledge with that show was these zombies, as each season went on, decayed over time and decomposed. And it felt in the first half like that's what the Eagles defense was doing, where they were slowly decomposing and they were just giving up big plays. They couldn't guard Elijah Moore. They gave up that opening kickoff to the Jets, and they were just letting them score. And that was an offense that had struggled very often in the first half. They flashed the stat that they hadn't had a lead going into halftime in the entire season. So you're worried there. They give up a few touchdowns. That opening drive, you're like, oh, great. They're down 6-0 to start. The Jets had multiple just special teams issues with the new kicker who they signed yesterday making his first appearance, missing extra points. But the offense was still moving the ball, scoring touchdowns. And you're kind of worried early on, like, what is this defense doing? If you could just get any stops, this game would be over. It'd be done. That's it. Well, as we know now, second half, they kind of tighten up. Late second half, honestly, they executed the perfect phases. I joke with my friends all the time. So you want to go stop on defense, get the ball back, score, halftime, get the ball to start the second half, score. And that's exactly what the Eagles did. So we'll get into the drives in the second half because I thought that was the key to the game. But what's important here is Gardner Minchu. He's the story of the day. He's going viral on Twitter, not just for his play, but for his off-the-field stuff, where I just love his energy. He was so fired up going with the fans, chest bumping his dad, told my dad, listen, if I win fantasy football and make the playoffs, we're doing this same stuff. Just go nuts. He is the real-life Alex Moran from Blue Mountain State, for anyone who's seen that. That is exactly his role, and it was perfect. He was 20 for 25 today, the 242 yards and 2 touchdowns. Truly almost like a flawless game. He going into the half didn't have an incompletion yet. In that 2-minute drill, he threw his first incompletion. So you're already in the 2-minute drill in the second quarter by the time he throws his first incompletion. And it really wasn't like an off target bad throw. He just threw it into the ground because the screen game wasn't there on a play that they were trying to set up. So even his incompletions weren't true incompletions where he was off the mark. He kind of just had to throw the ball away. And that happened a few times in his 5 total incompletions. So he is the story of the day, as he should. He played flawlessly in backup duty for Jalen Hurts, who was out with the ankle. And I thought he did a great job of just taking what the defense was giving to him. And I thought the Eagles did a great job of setting him up in situations where he could succeed. There were a lot of screenplays that they utilized. He hit the running back out of the backfield a few times where they are doing a great job of getting the Kenny Gainwell in that scenario. Miles Sanders made some plays there. And obviously, they've been running the ball for about 2 months straight, so we expected that. And he just, didn't make any mistakes, didn't make that backbreaking mistake that gets you in trouble, didn't take sacks. He just took everything that was given to him. And we know, like, there's going to be calls in the WIP tomorrow morning saying that we have a quarterback controversy. We know this. Like, this is going to be a whole ordeal. This is going to be a spiel. This is going to be a thing. But especially going to the bye week where we have nothing to talk about for 2 weeks straight. But I think we just kind of know Jalen Hurts is the guy. Gardner Minchu did a fantastic job away. Take nothing away from him. Give him all the credit. Give him his flowers for what he did today, which was fantastic. The Jets defense is bad. It's a really bad defense. That is like, could they get a stop against the Kutztown Golden Bears? Bad defense. They are so bad, and it's rough because they have that rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson who they're trying to figure out if he's the guy. And you go up early. They did all the right things on offense early on, and it just didn't matter. Like, they just couldn't get a stop at all. At one point, the announcers remarked, they're like, well, here's a guy who we haven't mentioned all day. And it was like the fourth quarter when they did this. They're like, Aaron Sipas, a punter for the Eagles. We're hearing from him for the first time. And it was literally like late fourth quarter, and the Eagles had already scored on every single possession that they had. The Jets defense is putrid. It's awful. It's dead. Like, it's just really rough for them right now. And I thought that was the theme of the day, where the Jets fans don't believe in the Jets team right now. And I don't blame them for doing it. The Jets defense is bad. The Eagles fans completely took over the stadium. Everybody who I knew that was there said it was about 80-20 Eagles fans to Jets fans, which was just kind of embarrassing. When I was at the Falcons game, it felt the same way, where we kind of just took over the stadium. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to apologize. It happens. It happens. But that's kind of where it went. So, do we have a quarterback controversy with Gardner Minchu and Jalen Hurts? No, I don't think so. The one thing I will say in regards to those two, and this being Gardner Minshew's day, it is concerning to me. And again, the Jets defense is really bad, so I don't even know if this would have been different if Jalen Hurts played. There was a noticeable uptick in accuracy of throws. It was remarked by multiple people. LaShawn McCoy, Brian Westbrook, people on Twitter who have played the game, all made those comments like, look at the accuracy of the ball. Look how this offense moves when the ball's coming out of the quarterback's hands are accurate. And that's just kind of how it felt today, is that there was an uptick in accuracy. Everything was on time, on target. They didn't take a lot of deep shots, but he did kind of hit on every throw that he made. And that is a little bit concerning to me, is like, look how well this offense moved today with his backup, because he was able to make all the throws that they asked him to do. And normally that's not happening. But again, it's a little bit different when Jalen Hurts has to play the Bucs, and he played the Chiefs, who are, their defense is good now. It was bad then. And just like a few other teams, like the Panthers have a good defense. So he's played some solid defenses. And even the Giants defense is actually pretty good. Their offense is just atrocious last week. And you saw 3 interceptions from him. Going to MetLife this week, whole different story. Just a really bad defense. So I don't know if that's like, if I'm being too hard on Jalen. and just like giving too much credit for Gardner Minshew, but it was kind of like the little bit of a red flag to me. So we'll see with that. Going around the offense, aside from Gardner Minshew, like we mentioned, he's the main story, but there were other guys who played well. Miles Sanders, who we've been waiting all year to break out, all year. The stats that they are flashing on that camera screen during the games, he's almost up to 500 snaps this year and 500 yards rushing without a touchdown. Nobody else comes close. Everybody else on the list is like a backup who had to like split time. It's like Carlos Hyde of the Jaguars. And it's like, yeah, that's because they have James Robinson ahead of him, and they're on the worst team in the league. Like, it's insane how many snaps that Miles Sanders has been through without scoring a touchdown. But I thought he was fantastic today. 24 carries, 120 yards. I hope the ankle is okay. It seemed like he was getting back on track, which I really, really hope that he is not hurt, because that was, again, the Jets defense is just not a good barometer. It's just they're just bad. I don't know how else to put it. I'm sorry. And their fans are going to agree with me. It's not even a roast. It's not even being mean. It's just like accepting the reality of the situation. They are bad. So I hope this is Sanders getting on track. I believe, and I think this was the plan the whole time. Jordan Howard was going to be out the last 2 weeks, knowing we had the bye week, and I expect to see him back on the 19th when we play the Washington football team. My guy, freaking Kenny Gainwell, the 5th round pick out of Memphis. As soon as we made that pick, I was like, you know what? This guy, I really like him a lot. Like, I really appreciate this guy. And that's what we got today. So he had 12 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown, 5 receptions for 33 yards. He's just the perfect running back, too, where you can bring him in. He's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. He's got burst to his game. It felt like every time he touched it on a reception, he had 10 yards around him. On his touchdown carry, it felt like he was going to be down. He catches that second wind, second burst, whatever you want to call it, shoots through the safeties and everybody like that and scores. He's just like the perfect running back, too. That's exactly what you're looking for, especially exactly what you're looking for in a 5th round pick. Like, he's not going to be Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to be Dalvin Cook. He's not going to be Derrick Henry and any of these guys. But if you draft him in the 5th round, this is exactly what you would want. A guy who can touch the ball 12 to 15 times a game, make an impact, especially make an impact catching the football out of the backfield. That is exactly what he did today. I think they really hit on that pick, and I'm excited for him going forward. I think they can really utilize him even when Jordan Howard comes back. It's really weird because they've got like 4 running backs who all do different things well, and you don't want to have to carry 4 running backs on your roster. So that's a bit odd, but I think they can figure it out. I think they've got to get Gainwell touches. And then also, last guy that we got to shout out on the offense, Dallas Goedert. He was a ghost last week. It was very clear, evident from the start. They wanted him to be involved early on, and they did. So they went down the field. He was the only person on the first drive to make a catch. He finished with 6 receptions for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. First game with 2 touchdowns for him. Career high in receiving yards for him as well. I just like that their plan was, we need to get this guy touches. We need to emphasize him in the passing game. We need to showcase him. We need to utilize him. He's a good talent, and they went out and were able to succeed and do that. I credit to Nick Sirianni for realizing last week, like, hey, that's unacceptable for him to have 1 target, 1 catch, a drop on the final series that was pretty backbreaking, that gets missed because of how bad Reagor was. So I like that they came back this week and not only utilized him, but were effective and efficient in the way that they did it on the way to 2 touchdowns. I did play him against him in fantasy today. So of fucking course, you know how that goes. Like, every week you're like, oh, maybe this is the week that Dallas Goedert breaks out. And then when you play him in fantasy, that's the week that he breaks out. So that's the way to do it. Going into the details of the game, aside from just the players of the game, the key to me in terms of why the Eagles won this game, what they did well, start of the second half, we talked about the phases. I love the phases that I've made up. I have a whole plan. This is my evil, diabolical plan. You get a stop going into the at the end of the first half. You get the ball back. You score. The half runs out. You get the ball to start the second half. They utilize that perfectly. So they get the stop. I believe that was a stop when Josh Sweat almost took Zach Wilson's head off because Zach Wilson inexplicably turned and tried to get out of the pocket and ran directly into Josh Sweat. Eagles get the ball. They go down, they score before the half. They get the field goal. And then they get the ball to start the second half, and they had an 8-minute drive. Over 8 minutes in game time. They remarked on the broadcast that the Jets didn't get a first down in over an hour and a half of real time, which is truly remarkable. But the Eagles were able to convert on third down on that drive. They were able to run effectively. They utilized Miles Sanders, and they went down and they put points on the board and got that field goal. There was a 4th and inches on that play where they had the terrible spot. I am very confused at the entire situation there. Gardner Minchu, almost his entire body, obviously including the ball, was over the line to gain on this. And then they gave it a bad spot. Nick Sirianni challenged. Gene Saratori in the booth was like, with these plays, we can't always see this. It's tough. You can't move a spot when these big piles are happening. Meanwhile, you have a clear line, clear path, which never happens with the camera angle and the first down marker. And it lined up perfectly. And you could just tell that Gardner Minshew almost got that by like a full yard. And then Robert Saleh, who I like a lot as a coach, was going ballistic on the officials. And he did it a lot today. And I just don't get it. I think there was like one call on a pass interference that went in our favor, where it was an underthrown ball to Dallas Goedert, and they called pass interference, where I was like, yeah, that's a bad call. Everything else, I did not get at all why he was going off on the officials. After the game, CJ Mosley said teams aren't respecting the Jets. The Eagles wouldn't shake their hands after the pregame coin toss, and Fletcher Cox was laughing at Robert Saleh because he was fighting for a call. Well, I get that. I get that you want to have a little bit of pride, but I get why Fletcher Cox was laughing. Like it was like embarrassing the way he was like fighting some of these calls, where like you'd see the replay. Like this is as clear and evident as it can get in the NFL these days. So that was on that 8-minute drive, and they end up with points. And I think from there, the Jets then had a 3-and-out. And the Eagles go on another drive. So the Jets ran 3 plays in the third quarter. I think that's really what ended up in, because the defense had to be on the field forever. It's not a good defense to start. The Eagles just wore everything down. They took the fans out of the game that were there. They took the focus out of the game for the Jets, and really just like a boa constrictor eating its lunch, just kind of suffocated that game and started to wind the clock down. And all of a sudden, they're up by double digits going into the fourth quarter. I appreciated that, because I think that's what good teams have to do. You have to be able to run the ball effectively, convert on third downs, have long drives that result in points where you don't turn the ball over, don't screw up, do nothing like that. Special teams was effective. Jake Elliott was good today. That's what good teams do, to put other teams away. That's what they did today. That was the key to me. So I thought they played well. I thought the defense bounced back after they went into their little Walking Dead situation in the first half, where they were giving up points, sleepwalking, looking lost, just kind of emblematic of everything that was going on in the stadium. So they bounced back well in the second half, had the interception, just got pressure on the quarterback, got off the field. They had the 3-and-out, which was really important in the third quarter. So everything started to come together, and they kind of just let the offense bring it home by just kind of winding that clock, going into boa constrictor mode, which is I like to call it, where they're just going to suffocate you, take some time off the clock, convert every third down, make the drives long, make this sure your defense can't get off the field. They went straight boa constrictor mode in the second half. So Eagles win 33-18. They are now 6-7. For a brief time today, they were the 7th seed. I thought that they would be in the playoffs if the season ended today going forward. So let's look around the league as to why they are not. Washington wins at the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas with Hall of Famer Derek Carr. All of a sudden now they can't put up points, which was infuriating. They had a chance there at the end. The Washington, who just brought in a new kicker, hits the kick with 37 seconds left in the game. It looked like the Raiders had a chance there on that final play that they were going to connect on the deep shot, but they don't. They lose. So the Washington football team is 6-6. Obviously, the Eagles have the bye week. Next week, they're the last team to have their bye, and that, or at least have their bye slot, because there's other teams like the Colts who have their bye next week. So Washington wins. They're technically the 7th seed right now at 6-6. But hold our horses for a second, because everything else went well this week. In that 4 o'clock slot, again, when I started today, I said, hey, I want to wait. I'm not going to do this show until all of the football ends today. And this is why. We saw Washington win, knocked us out of the playoffs, but also the 49ers go up and lose to the Seahawks, the 4-8 Seahawks, in win now mode, according to Ian Rappaport this week when they signed Adrian Peterson. That's a huge loss for the Eagles, more importantly than these other games, because they lose the tiebreaker to the 49ers. So they need the 49ers to lose games. They lose up in Seattle to a team with a losing record. And then the Saints lose to the Cowboys Thursday Night Football. They seem to be in a bit of a free fall. They have nothing figured out with that quarterback situation. That's their 4th straight loss. They did not win in November, and then they lose this game on Thursday to the Cowboys. So they are also 6-7 as well. And then the game of the day, I just had this intuition. I had this feeling. I had it Friday. I had no idea what it was. I was ready to bet them. I was ready to bet this team. I had it deep in my brain, and I just kept telling people, I was like, I think this is the week. I just feel it. I think this is it. This is the moment. The Detroit Lions win a football game. They beat the Minnesota Vikings, which was the other wild card team at the time. They lose. That helps the Eagles as well. And the Detroit Lions get their first win of the season. I don't know what it was. I just felt it all since Friday for the past 48 hours. I've just felt like this is going to be a Lions win, and they get it. So everything aside from the Washington outcome worked out perfectly for the Eagles. Everybody else in the hunt lost. If you consider the Giants in the hunt, they lost as well. Everybody lost who you needed to lose. So you go into your bye week. Hopefully, Jason Kelce is fine. Jordan Howard, I think, will be back when we play our next game. And I think Jalen Hurts will be as well. So looking ahead, let's take a look back at Washington, because they're on a 4-game win streak, 6-6, and now they are our top competition right now. They're going to go Cowboys this week. We're on the bye. Then they'll play at us, and then the Cowboys again. So hopefully, I can't believe how much we have to root for the Cowboys these days. It's so infuriating. But it's 2 tough games against the Cowboys, and then a game sandwich in there with us. December 19th at home for the Eagles. That's going to turn almost into a playoff game for us, because you have to beat the Washington football team to get in, because you're competing with them for that 6-7 seed. So this will be crazy. Hopefully they do lose to the Cowboys coming into our stadium. And even though they won today, you can really knock them out of the race in this next 3 weeks if you handle your business. And that's what I like. Just win on your own. Take care of your business. I was watching college football yesterday. I was like, this sucks that Notre Dame could get in, because Oklahoma State was losing. You could tell how the day was going. People were going to lose. And Notre Dame, sitting on their ass, not doing anything, was going to make the college football playoff just because they didn't have a conference, and they just didn't have to put in the hard work like other teams did, having to play top 10 teams in the conference championship, because they just refused to join a conference. Like, this sucks. Like, they didn't put into work to deserve to get there. It was just a process of elimination. Well, the Eagles are in an opposite situation where there's no process of elimination. You just flat out got to beat the team there and the Washington football team to get there. So they'll have their chance coming up in 2 weeks. We've got the bye week, so it might be a while until you get the game day reaction show from us. But I appreciate you listening. Big day for the Eagles. A big day around the league for the Eagles, which is most important. Big day for Gardner Minchu and his brand, because that was awesome. His energy was awesome, both on and off the field. So good for him. Eagles win 33-18. We'll be back recording this Wednesday, dropping this Thursday, and we will talk to you soon. Kevin will have a game day reaction show against that Washington football team next week. We'll see what we can do for us in the bye week. But enjoy, like, and subscribe, and thank you for listening.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yeah. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things.
I got 2 phones.
Upset alert. Upset alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach.
That is
Be the team you promised me you were going to be this year!
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.